Vince McMahon has been one of the most influential and controversial figures in all pro wrestling world in the last decades. Vince has been the subject of numerous cases and rumors of inappropriate and criminal behavior during his time as CEO of WWE. But nothing compares to the latest allegation made by Janel Grant, which is undoubtedly not only one of the most grotesque cases to exist in the world of WWE, but such as Brock Lesnar. But before we dive into our story, I would like to emphasize that these are allegations, not evidence, and that this is an extremely heavy case that may trigger many people. Unfortunately, the story of powerful men taking advantage of their influence to benefit from young girls with less experience and the ambition for a better life is nothing new. And most of the time, money and influence speak louder. And these men end up getting away, if not unscathed from such behaviors, without receiving a punishment remotely adequate for their potential crimes. Vince McMahon is an irreplaceable figure in WWE. Under his leadership, the company went from being regionally popular to a true phenomenon in the entertainment industry. However, there is no professional achievement that redeems a man from the allegations made against him if they are indeed proven. Although this story has gained national attention due to Vince's power and popularity, it starts away from the pro wrestling world spotlight. Instead, it begins with a woman in a deep state of emotional and financial desperation. This woman is Janel Grant, who in March 2019 was suffering from the recent loss of her parents. Miss Grant had spent the last few years taking care of them, so she not only had an extremely strong bond, but also couldn't dedicate herself to a professional career. On top of it all, Janel had also lost her parents' house, where she lived, because of their bankruptcy declaration. In a state of desperation, Janel began volunteering in her community to try to beef up her resume. The building superintendent where Janel lived, who had a friendly relationship with her and was also involved in the community services Grant was participating in, had personal contact with Mr. McMahon and sent a message to the WWE CEO, inquiring if there was a possibility of helping her. McMahon showed enthusiasm for the idea and quickly expressed interest in assisting. Like any abusive relationship, Vince did not reveal his true intentions right away. In the initial interactions, he not only promised Miss Grant a life change, but also presented a very human side, mentioning that he was an emotional and lonely elderly man. He even stated that, due to his position, people tended to be intimidated by his presence and never touched him affectionately. A classic move of controlling individuals, revealing vulnerabilities to create a sense of security and empathy. At the end of the meeting, Vince mentioned that he didn't just want to provide a job, but a life. It didn't take long for Vince to show his true colors. After a few gifts, such as a VIP entrance to WrestleMania, Vince started becoming increasingly intimate, complimenting her appearance and attempting more and more physical contact, such as excessively long hugs. In May 2019, initially, Grant refused, but out of fear of losing the opportunity she had secured, she eventually gave in to the kiss. However, when Vince tried to undress her, Grant left Vince's apartment, where all these meetings took place. A few days later, Grant had secured a position within WWE. It was then that Vince's advances became increasingly aggressive. Grant, afraid of losing her job, reluctantly engaged in sexual relations with Vince against her will. The following months followed the same pattern, with numerous sexual encounters. Even when Grant requested an end to the relationship, Vince never allowed it. Things became increasingly dark, with Vince demonstrating a more controlling and sadistic side, such as forcing her to send explicit photos, making sexual recordings, and even obliging her to have threesomes with Vince and others simultaneously. This is the point at which other prominent figures in the industry become involved in the story. Laurinaitis entered this story as one of the colleagues Vince coerced into having relations with him. In March 2021, Grant was assigned to work under Laurinaitis, where sexual control and abuse persisted for months, not exclusively with Vince or Laurinaitis, but with various other men, all at Vince's command. Throughout this period, Vince not only showed numerous intimate photos and videos of Janel to company employees, but also forced her to send these pictures to people in his personal circle. This is precisely when another highly influential name in the industry enters this story. To be honest here, Brock Lesnar's name was never directly mentioned, but the description was former UFC champion, a WWE star, which narrows it down to just two names. Cain Velasquez, who was released from the organization in 2020, and of course, Brock Lesnar, one of the company's main figures in recent years. It was reported that for a contract renewal with WWE, this figure received numerous intimate photos of Miss Grant, and Vince also wanted her to have sexual relations with process. Numerous private conversations were leaked, with extremely graphic content that cannot be shown or quoted here on YouTube. In January 2022, Linda McMahon, Vince's wife, discovered his relationship with Grant, prompting the former president to end his depraved relationship with Janel, forcing her to sign a confidentiality agreement worth $3 million. However, only 1/3 of that amount was paid. This entire case came to light a few weeks ago, but Vince has already been accused and has been the center of numerous similar rumors, leading to the belief that this was not an isolated incident. Instead, Grant was just one of the victims of an abuser, sick for control, and a truly despicable human being.